First Bank.
Welcome to Business News. The Lagos State government has announced an impressive 84% budget performance for the third quarter of the year, despite continuous drop in federal allocation. Added to the performances of the first and second quarter, the state's budget has recorded a cumulative performance of 86%. Shortly after the budget review meeting held at the Lagos House in Ikeja, Governor Babatunde Fashola told journalists that the performance is impacted by the projects executed in the education, health and environment sectors. The government promised that his administration will continue to focus on activities that will create economic opportunities.
First quarter, we performed 67% of the disaggregated quarterly proportion. In the second quarter, we exceeded the disaggregated quarterly proportion. In the third quarter, we performed 84% of the disaggregated quarterly proportion. Now, from January to September, the total aggregate performance for the state in terms of budgetary performance, when you add up those numbers, will give you 86%. And as I said, that's a tough act to follow in most of West Africa, if not Africa. This is the first time in a long time that federal transfers are performing at about 84%. It hasn't happened in a long time. So because we used to have, if you go and look at all our budgets, federal transfers used to be over 100% because we always set our expectations low. We have depended on our internal revenues. We always set our expectations low, so we have always reported over 100% of federal transfers. States who don't set their expectations low will end up with diminished expectations. But even in spite of that very modest expectation, this year we had 84% of federal transfers of a very understated expectation.
Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola. Consolidating on the lessons learned from the Ebola virus outbreak and containment in Nigeria, management of Procter & Gamble Nigeria has donated 500 cartons of antiseptic soap to schools and other public offices in the country. While making the donations to the Ministry of Health in Abuja, the company's director for global government relations, Temitope Iluyemi, says the gesture is part of the company's contributions to keep Nigeria safe. Over 2,000 schools have already benefited from similar gestures across the country.
The panic that followed the outbreak of the deadly Ebola virus in Nigeria may have died down, but the lessons about the need for personal hygiene cannot be forgotten in a hurry. Both the Federal Ministry of Health and experts from the medical community have continued to emphasize the need to imbibe the culture of good personal hygiene, which includes regular hand washing. To sustain this culture, management of Procter & Gamble, a foremost consumer goods manufacturer in Nigeria, donated 500 cartons of Safeguard antiseptic soaps to the Ministry of Health in Abuja at the weekend.
We're very grateful to God as well as to the government of Nigeria in their efforts in containing the Ebola virus disease, actually making Nigeria an example of the current best approach to containing the disease. This has spurred P&G on the platform of a Safeguard antibacterial soap to support the efforts of the government in ensuring that we maintain the habit of hand washing, which is the one effective method of prevention of communicable diseases around the world.
This donation is aimed at getting over 1 million Nigerians to support a hand-washing campaign spearheaded by the company. The choice for Safeguard antiseptic soap for this exercise was also emphasized.
The Safeguard antibacterial soap we're donating today contains triclocarban, a safe and effective antibacterial agent which is widely used around the world. Triclocarban forms an effective tool in the fight against germs. The advantage of triclocarban over other antibacterial agents, such as triclosan, found in other soaps in the market, is its long-lasting activity against bacteria that normally colonize the skin.
Receiving the donations, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Mr. Linus Awute, expresses the Ministry's appreciation to Procter & Gamble.
I want to thank P&G on behalf of the entire sector, headed by the Honorable Minister of Health and all other associated partners and workers in the health sector. We are most grateful. The donation, like the Honorable Minister of State has said, is going to be placed in use.
Experts believe that regular hand washing with antiseptic soap is a sure way of preventing the spread of communicable diseases in the society.
Well, for the second consecutive week, interbank lending rate stayed flat at 10.37% after the central bank paid off open market bills to boost liquidity. This week, the central bank repaid about 130 billion naira in matured OMO bills and injected around 70 billion naira in net credit from cash reserves. The open buyback rate was flat at 10.25%, while overnight placement remained unchanged at 10.50% for the second consecutive week. Equities performance at the Nigerian stock market had a negative record in the third quarter of the year. Characterized by increase in volatility, some broker-dealers believe that the decline was as a result of a drop in macroeconomic indices. Our correspondent Tempo Ashaju reports.
In the Nigerian stock markets, the year began with a negative performance for the first quarter. At quarter two, the indicators had become positive. In the just concluded quarter, however, equities performance nosedived again by 2.76%.
For some of the stocks, we experienced growth in prices, and for some, there were fall in prices.
Although market cap increased about 17% from almost between 11 and 12 trillion to about 13 trillion in Q3 2014. So invariably from all yardsticks, from all indicators, it shows that Q3 2014 wasn't really that fantastic.
Despite the prime time enjoyed by the industrial stocks and the insurance sector in the period, market performance returned unimpressive.
We saw NSE Bank being a major hit. We saw consumer goods lifting on the positive side. We saw industrial moving also on the positive side.
A year-on-year comparison of equities revealed that there was a decline by 2.76%. It is believed, however, that the reduced macroeconomic indices had a major influence on this performance.
We had some strengths in Q3 2013. GDP then was about 6.8% compared to what it is at Q3 2014 for about 6.56% according to MBS. We used also check our foreign reserve then was in excess of $44 billion. Q3 2014 we had it at the level of $39 billion. What is going to keep or what is going to help us achieve a positive year-to-date performance of the market is going to be purely on domestic stability.
In the quarter four, fingers are crossed, but market operators can't help being optimistic of a positive close despite the election year that is around the corner. From the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Temple Ashaju, Channels Television News.
So let's take a closer look at closing figures for today. Key indicators actually closed south after 3 days of trade as investors continuously booked profit off stocks. Tolu Ojeomi has a summary of today's session.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The Nigeria equities market extended its bearish trade as moderate gains recorded by market heavyweights, including Dangote Cement, were not enough to lift the All-Share Index. The benchmark index lost 0.32% to end the week at 40,444.39 with a low market capitalization of 13.35 trillion naira. 40 oil gained 2 naira 95 kobo ahead of Dangote Cement and Guinness Nigeria. Both equities had gains less than 2 naira each. On the flip side, Mobil, Okomu Oil and International Breweries were the top 3 laggards for the day. Major contributors to market volume include Ikeja Hotel, Sterling Bank and Transcorp. When the closing bell rang, investors had in 5,169 deals exchanged 242.96 million shares, valued at 2.68 billion naira. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. Thanks for watching. I'm Tolu Ojeomi.
That's it on Business News. But the rest of the news at 10 continues in just a moment. British Council is set to showcase over 50 UK universities, colleges and schools at a 12th annual education exhibition to hold on November the 8th and 12th in Lagos and Abuja, respectively. At a press briefing in Lagos, the Director Programs of the Council in Nigeria, Louisa Waddingham, asked all Nigerians to make the most of the exhibition. She said Nigerians who may wish to study in the UK would have a platform to source all the required information, as well as explore the wide range of opportunities the exhibition would provide.
Members of the press gather here at the British Council office in Lagos. It's a brief on the forthcoming UK education exhibition taking place in Lagos and Abuja.
Every year we have a lot of institutions that want to come here, want to meet potential students and their parents and their educators and do what they can to support Nigeria's development through an education division. It's really important to the UK. And increasingly, it's about bringing students to the UK so that they can have a whole UK experience and join the Nigerian diaspora in the UK, which is very vibrant for us. But also, there's an increasing interest from from British institutions for working in Nigeria as well.
This will be our 12th annual Education UK exhibition, which is organized by the British Council every year in Nigeria. And these events will be taking place in Lagos on the 8th of November 2014 and in Abuja on the 11th of November 2014. As Louisa has mentioned, it's targeted at prospective students who are interested in studying internationally, and we want to give them opportunities to come and meet with over 50 UK institutions and talk about their options, see if they can find a program that is relevant to their needs at that exhibition.
Considering the number of persons that the increase in the numbers of Nigerians wishing to study in the UK has created a mutually beneficial relationship.
It's not just about the students going to the UK now. We're also thinking about partnerships between Nigerian institutions and UK institutions and how these partnerships can sort of try and develop the Nigerian education system as well.
There are so many things that we take for granted, living with one another, but being in that kind of environment, it gave me exposure on how to relate with people from different backgrounds.
So we can take maybe one question.
According to the project manager, the UK education system has evolved to meet challenges of this age, which is why it has become the center for students from over 200 nations of the world. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, it's a crucial weekend for Nigerian football as Super Eagles and Super Falcons get ready for what seems to be a tough duel in Africa's biggest showpieces. That's on sports. To join us again.